My husband once handed me divorce papers. His name, his part, everything was already filled out. He pushed them toward me and said with a smirk, "If there's anything you don't like, feel free to give this out, okay?" That smile, it was the kind of smile that told me he thought he was untouchable, that he could never be wrong. Back then, I brushed it off as a silly joke. Years later, I would come to hate that smile more than anything. Sometimes, I wanted to slap it off his face. My name is Sally. I've been married to Tatum for 3 years now. We don't have children, and if I'm being honest, our marriage isn't terrible, but it isn't good either. It's stuck somewhere in between, a dull gray area where I feel more like a housekeeper than a wife. Tatum isn't controlling, not in the obvious sense, but lately, he's been lazy, very lazy. He doesn't help with chores, not even a little. I work just as much as he does, but when I come home, he's stretched out on the sofa, expecting dinner to magically appear. When I suggest sharing responsibilities, he just waves me off. "Housework's women's work. That's how it's always been," he says. I've argued, shouted, even cried about it, but he never changes. Maybe it's because he lived with his parents for so long, or maybe it's because of his family's influence, especially his mother's. When you marry someone, you don't just marry them, you marry their family too. And the kind of mother-in-law you get can either make your life peaceful or turn it into a nightmare. With mine, it's like losing the lottery every single day. "Sally, can't you make a decent meal? Another miss today," she sneers, poking at the food I managed to throw together after a long day at work. My meeting ran late, and I got home late. On days I get off on time, I cook properly. I explain, tired but trying to be reasonable. "What are you talking about? For a woman, the house is more important than work. It's common sense to have dinner ready when your husband walks in the door." Her words sting. I wish that kind of common sense had stayed buried in the 1990s. What's worse is that she's not just an occasional visitor. She's there every single day. My husband gave her a spare key without even asking me, so she lets herself in and makes herself comfortable, often before I even get home. I don't even want to imagine how long she sits there waiting. Every day it's the same cycle: criticize me, insult me, and baby her son. Honestly, if Tatum keeps eating your food, it'll ruin his health. That's why I cook for him when I can. Oh, my poor boy, stuck with such a disappointing wife. It's endless, and she never lifts a finger to help. She doesn't even pretend to. Sometimes, she takes food straight out of the house. "Well, I'll just take this takeout meal, then." "Wait, if you take that, we won't have anything for dinner. That's why I tell you to come home earlier and cook, but you always make excuses. Anyway, I'm taking this. Oh, and the strawberries from the fridge too. Bye." And just like that, she walks out the door with our dinner in her hands. "Why aren't you saying anything?" I snap at my husband afterward. "She took our entire dinner." "It's no big deal, just a little food." He shrugs, grabbing the remote. "It wasn't a little, she took everything." "Then hurry up and make something. I'm starving." He flops onto the sofa, leaving me standing in the kitchen, shaking with anger. That was the first time I thought, I can't live like this much longer. But fate had more waiting for me. One evening, I came home to an empty apartment. My mother-in-law hadn't shown up. My husband wasn't home either. For once, the house was quiet, peaceful, even, but instead of relaxing, I felt uneasy. I opened the fridge. Something was wrong. My special steak, the one I bought with my paycheck, planning to cook for us on the weekend, was gone. My heart dropped. I knew exactly where it was. I pedaled my bike as fast as I could to my in-laws' house. It only took me 5 minutes. I didn't bother knocking. Their front door was unlocked, just like always, and I stormed inside. There it was, my steak, or rather, what was left of it. The packaging was ripped open, the tray stained with juices, and the meat nearly finished. My husband sat there with his parents, chewing happily. "This is the steak I bought, isn't it?" My voice shook. "Oh, that? It was delicious, thank you," my mother-in-law said with a bright, fake smile. "It's not about whether it was delicious. That was mine. I bought it for a special occasion. It's no big deal. Tatum had some too, but I didn't. HMPH. Serves you right for being greedy. Consider it a lesson. Next time. Buy enough for everyone. I turned to my husband, desperate for support. But of course, he just grinned like a fool. Well, I had some too. Don't be so upset. We can always buy more. That's not the point. I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because deep down, I already knew he would never stand up for me. That night, as I walked home alone, I realized something had snapped inside me. And a few days later, my suspicion became reality. I saw him with her, arm in arm, smiling that same stupid grin. She looked at him like he was her whole world, and he looked back at her like he had never once looked at me. Tatum, do you really want to marry me? She asked. Yes, I want to marry you as soon as possible, he whispered. Then will you divorce her? Of course, I'll talk to her tonight. Decision made. There it was, proof. My husband was cheating. But the strangest thing? I felt no shock, no pain, just a cold, steady calm. Because deep down, I think I had already stopped loving him long ago. Instead of feeling heartbreak, I realized something far heavier. I had fallen completely out of love with him. There was nothing left in my chest for Tatum. No warmth, no tenderness, no flicker of hope. It was all gone, drained away by years of disappointment, betrayal, and silence. I'm done, I thought. The words rang steady in my mind, like the toll of a bell, not angry, not broken, just indifferent. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the divorce papers he once mocked me with. I knew exactly what I had to do. First, I needed to move. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Within a week, I found a moving company, packed my belongings, and left the old apartment without looking back. I didn't cry. I didn't even hesitate. It was almost as if I had been waiting for this moment all along. 3 months later, I was moving again. This time, though, it was different. I wasn't running away. I was settling into something new, my dream condo. The movers delivered my things, and though the full-service option was too expensive, I didn't mind unpacking alone. Every box I opened felt like another step into freedom. My new kitchen, my new bedroom, my new life. I was kneeling on the floor, carefully unwrapping a set of plates, when the doorbell rang. I froze. I knew exactly who it was. I opened the door without a word. Just as I expected, my ex-husband and his parents stood there like a storm I had already seen coming. Hey, Sally, long time no see, Tatum said with a casual grin, like nothing had happened. Wow, this place is really nice, my father-in-law remarked, stepping inside without waiting for permission. And, of course, my mother-in-law's voice rose above the rest. Sally, what were you thinking? Running away and buying a condo without telling us? Her words didn't sting anymore. They just slid off me. This condo was mine, my dream. The old apartment I once shared with Tatum was run down and suffocating, filled with memories I didn't want. When I found this newly built place with bright windows and a small balcony that caught the morning sun, I knew it was meant for me. I signed the papers without hesitation. And now, here they were, uninvited, unannounced, and unwelcome. I stood in the doorway, blocking them from entering further. Stop right there, I said firmly. Only residents are allowed beyond this point. What, Sally, what's gotten into you? Tatum frowned. That's harsh, they're my parents. Sorry, Tatum, I said coolly, but your parents are strangers to me. His mother gasped like I'd slapped her. Sally, how can you say that? Isn't family more important than anything? Other things matter more than that, I replied. My father-in-law shook his head. What a bad wife. Tatum, you should leave her. Relax, Dad. Tatum chuckled. But yeah, divorce might be the better option. I'll ask for this condo in the settlement. They ignored me completely as they craned their necks to peer into my home. It would have been better if you got a 2-family house. Sally, my mother-in-law scolded. You really don't think about others. Exactly, Tatum agreed. She's always been thoughtless. Yeah, my father-in-law added casually. I wanted my own room too, but that's tough with this place. They chatted like they were already dividing up my property. My jaw tightened, but I didn't flinch. When my mother-in-law reached for the living room door, I gently pushed her hand aside. She stared at me in disbelief. Sally, how could you push me? What's gotten into you? I'm just asking you to respect my privacy, I said evenly. You're not welcome to walk in uninvited. You're still strangers to me. Her face twisted with rage. That's it. I've had enough. Fine, if that's how you feel. We'll really become strangers. Tatum. Divorce her immediately. But before Tatum could puff out his chest in agreement, I spoke calmly. Don't worry. There's no need. I'm already divorced. The room fell silent. Tatum blinked. What? How could you do that without telling me? You heard me, I said. Did you really? You can't just do whatever you want. His mother shrieked. Yeah, exactly. My father-in-law chimed in. Filing for divorce without his consent is invalid. We'll take this to mediation. I had been waiting for this moment. Slowly, I picked up a thick envelope from the table near the door and pulled out a set of papers. Oh well, but you're wrong. Tatum himself prepared the divorce papers. Remember, dear? You once told me, if there's something you don't like, just bring it up. His face drained of color. That was a joke? Not to me. Before they could argue further, I spread out the photos across the table. Each one captured Tatum with his mistress, their hands locked, their lips touching, their smiles shameless. This is evidence of your affair. Tatum's mouth fell open. Did I? Well, you left home. So, no. I cut him off sharply. The affair started long before that. I hired a lawyer and a detective. Everything is documented. Your mistress even confirmed it herself. I remembered the meeting well. She had handed me photos herself, beaming like she had already won. Tatum told me he's divorcing you and marrying me, she said. I'm so happy. Naive, foolish girl. She thought she was helping her case, but in reality, she was helping mine. Now, standing in my condo, I faced Tatum and his parents with the evidence. There's no point in denying it. The divorce is real, the settlement is real, and you'll pay compensation. Tatum sank to the floor, mumbling excuses that no one listened to. His mother, of course, lashed out again. Even so, Sally, even if our son cheated, it must have been your fault too. A wife should hold her husband's heart. I didn't even bother arguing. Please leave, I said calmly. Wait, you can't just leave. When she still refused, I raised my voice for the first time. I said leave. The three of them startled, then shuffled out like defeated shadows. Weeks later, the divorce was finalized without a fight. Tatum couldn't resist anymore. He didn't have the money or the will. His mistress turned on him when she realized he wouldn't pay her way. And his parents? They retreated into their own troubles, too drained to bother me again. Now, I live quietly in my condo. No footsteps I don't expect. No voices criticizing me the moment I walk through the door. No stolen groceries. Just me. Just peace. Some evenings, I sit on my balcony with a cold beer in my hand, watching the city lights. The freedom is intoxicating. Better than any luxury. Ah, I whisper to myself, stretching out my legs. It feels so good, freedom. And for the first time in years, I mean it.